Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are today. Welcome to your yoga practice. For today's practice, I wanted to share an experience that I had with you before we get going. So, in the last week or so, I had an interesting experience where I showed up somewhere and there was a situation that I was uncomfortable with. And instead of removing myself, I chose to sit in my own discomfort in order to not make others uncomfortable. And that's not something new for me. Maybe it's not something new for a lot of you as well, especially growing up being taught to be nice and kind. Sometimes that message gets interpreted as putting our own needs aside for the needs of others. So something that was different this time was the feeling after. I sat in this situation for about, an hour or so, as long as it lasted, in my own discomfort. And when I left, the feeling that I had was anger. And it was directed at the other person that I felt was the contributor to my uncomfortableness. And so I later ended up having a conversation with this person, and I still did not feel resolved inside or comforted. There was still agitation moving through me. And so after a while, I started to recognize that the thing that I was upset about was not about this other person's choice of what to do with their own self, but it was that I had abandoned myself for the comfort of the group and this other person. And that did not sit well with me. And that is actually what I was upset about. And so it really got me thinking a lot about all of us on this hunger, hope, and healing journey, and how many of us, most or all, have spent a lifetime since we were little, maybe not really feeling seen or heard, or being misinterpreted by others, and also setting aside our own needs and desires for others. And that can be a lifelong journey to turn that around and shift that. So instead of beating myself up, which I'm also good at, like many of you, I thought, wow, this is like really informative. I recognize that I abandoned myself for the comfort of someone else, and I'm not going to do that anymore. How can I reinforce this for myself? And like most things in life, that is, how shall I say, that is reinforced on my mat, because including the body in our cognitive decisions makes them a lot stronger. So that brought me back to one of our beginning practices that we have learned together in phase 1, which is say no to say yes. And that means for me in this situation is I am going to say no to making other people comfortable so I can say yes to not abandoning myself. So as we sit together and practice today, maybe see if anything comes to mind for you about what is going on in your life right now that you would like to say yes to. Because usually that means there's something that you also have to say no to. And so we'll take a few minutes here and get settled in our breath. So in a comfortable seat, wherever you are, And that means that we lengthen the spine, letting our seat become intentional. There is a broadness across the shoulder blades. I like to bring my elbows back a little bit so that they are pretty well under my shoulder blades. The crown of the head is reaching toward the sky. And we begin to notice the places that our body is in contact with the support of the seat underneath us. That could be a blanket or bolster. And from that groundedness, we lengthen the spine, reach the crown of the head toward the sky, and bring the chin in just a little. Let the breath start to deepen. Really taking your time to find your fullest, longest, slowest breath this morning. And just almost relishing in the sensation of filling your body with your breath. We call it the prana or the life energy. Let your body fill with that, reminding you to fill yourself with yeses. Say yes to ways to care for yourself. Yes to ways to nurture your body. Just a few more cycles like this, bringing into not just your mind, but your heart center, that which you would like to say yes to today. And you're already doing that with your yoga practice. So don't worry if nothing else is really coming to mind. Just practicing, you are saying yes to caring for yourself. More cycles like this. After that next exhalation, let your breath come back to what feels like a natural rhythm. And then we're going to practice a quicker breath. And in this one, the motion is like this, arms up and then pulling down. So up is an open palm, pulling down is a fist. So as you inhale, you go up, exhale, pull down, inhale up, exhale down. And you're sniffing, it's kind of like a sniffing motion in and out through the nose for several cycles of breath. So a couple of things to know, especially if this is new to you, is you do not want to do this to the point of feeling breathless or like dizzy, lightheaded, anything like that. And you don't have to do it super fast. So it can be at a speed that feels comfortable for you. And we'll do this several times, but you may stop. Don't keep following me if you feel like it is. When you do stop, then you want to take an inhale and a nice long exhale, and just we'll take some of those breaths in between. So arms to the side, palms facing forward. Inhale up, exhale, pull down, up, down, up, down. Inhale, exhale, 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 arms down, inhale, exhale, Take several breaths like this and just notice what kind of energy has been created in your body. Use your breath to observe how that energy starts to dissipate, that sensation. And we'll do this again. Inhale, exhale. No, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. No, yes. No, yes. No, yes. No, yes. 3, 2, 1. Release. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale at your own pace. Let that energy run through you. And just notice. Saying no to something means that you are also saying yes to yourself. And then opening the eyes when you're ready. We are going to come to hands and knees. So a blanket for under the knees is good. And have your blocks at the top of your mat. You can just have one on either side for right now. I'm going to set my bolster to the side and turn my blanket. And I'll be sideways so that I think you could get a better view this way. So we'll come to hands and knees. Spread the fingers nice and wide. The pointer finger is pointing forward. Wrists, elbows, and shoulders are stacked so that they're in one line, pressing strongly into the pads of the finger, the base of the fingers, so strongly that the knuckles might come to rise a little bit. As you inhale, pull the belly up around the spine. As you exhale, belly comes down, gaze comes up. Inhaling, pulling in, head comes down. Exhaling, belly drops. Doing our cat-cow here. Nice and easy. Just letting that spine get longer, get some space between the vertebrae, have some movement. And really make sure that the parts of your body that are touching the earth are pressing into it, keeping everything energetic and steady. Next time we come to center, go ahead and take your right leg back, pressing the ball of the foot into the earth. And just noticing the sensation that you have here. You might be feeling some kind of stretch in the back of your leg. Keep the core engaged. And then we're going to lift the right leg no higher than your hip. So the hips still stay nice and steady. Pull the core in. If you would like to add on to this, you can take the opposite arm out, thumb toward the sky. The core is engaged here. You can think of that supporting the core of yourself. Left hand comes down, right leg comes in. Left leg back behind, pressing into the ball of the foot. Engage the abdominals. You can lift that leg no higher than your hip, and the opposite arm coming forward. Holding the abdominals in, See if you can find some long, steady breaths here. And then bring the hand down, leg down. Take the toes together and the knees nice and wide. Let your hips come back any amount. And I do like to kind of move side to side to make room for my belly so that it can fit nicely in between my legs. And then you can stretch the arms out. And if you have access, you can bring your forehead to the mat. We're in a child's pose. Or maybe you're in more of kind of a half dog position. Just try stretching out your spine, moving the hips away from the fingers, and however your body feels is good. And we'll take a couple of more breaths here. Breathing in and out. Start to lift, walk the hands back a little. This is where you're going to find your blocks. On the highest height, stepping the right foot forward, one block on the outside and one on the in. So you'll adjust your left knee anywhere that it feels comfortable. And we're going to let the hips sink down a little bit here, bending into the right knee. Again, any amount. Try to have the spine nice and long and keep the head and neck in line with the spine. Take a few long, slow breaths. We'll start to let the hips come back. I like to walk my blocks back a little bit here. My arms are a little shorter than some, so the right heel stays on the ground. Hips come back as much as feels comfortable to you. Some long, slow breaths like this. And then coming forward, back into this low lunge. Breathe. Stay wide across the collarbones if you can, ears away from shoulders. Slow and steady with the breath. And then once more, hips back. You can take the blocks back with you as much as you need. Breathe. Slow and steady. And then we'll come forward a little bit. We're going to switch legs. So you can just bring the right foot back, left forward, switch the block so it's on the outside of the left foot, and the other block is where it feels supportive for you. Then we're bending into the left knee, taking that back knee wherever it feels good. And if this is bothering your knees, you can do this with a chair. You'll just be standing instead, and your hands will be on the chair. Slow and steady with a breath. Sending those hips back. Don't forget to adjust the block so that you're comfortable. And then coming forward again. Slow and steady with the breath. And back. And then forward a little bit and bring this left leg back. Set your blocks to the side. Come back to hands and knees. Take your knees a little bit wide if you need to make room for your belly, as I do, and let the hips come back. And then you're going to walk your hands over to the left, but the hips They try to stay close to the center. They'll move a little bit, and you'll notice that your right hand, this is the one you want to keep trying to reach, creating a nice stretch on this side as the right hip is reaching back away from the hand. Long, slow breaths here. Then we'll walk the hands through center and then take them over to the other side. And this is where your left hand is going to be a little bit forward of the right, and you keep reaching as you press the left hip back. Slow and steady. And coming back to center. Find your blocks. Come up to hands and knees now with the hands underneath the blocks. Fingers are nice and wide. Blocks are about as wide as the shoulder. You're going to turn the toes under. Then the hips back a little bit. And we're going to press up into downward facing dog. I always need to move my feet forward. That's just how my body is. Then your hips back. You can let this downward dog be playful, meaning you can move side to side, bend one knee at a time, and then hold steady in center. Find your breath. Feel your own strength. And then in the next breath cycle or two, take one hand off the block, moving towards you, then the other, and we'll just walk ourselves back to we're in this forward fold. Pausing here. Really press your feet strongly into the earth. Straightening the legs as much as possible, letting the head hang down. Feeling solid, grounded with the earth, which also helps you to feel grounded inside yourself. Draw the belly into the spine. Coming up, inhale, arms up. Pause with the arms up, so the arms are reaching up. Breathing in and out. Notice the sense of grounding in the legs, in the feet, while you're reaching with the fingertips. So there is this grounded in self, but also an openness to what is. As the arms are up, the hands are open, the fingers are reaching. Creating the physical ability to stay where you are, while also feeling open to other things. And then letting the arms come down. Bring the hands to heart center. Just take 2 or 3 long, slow breaths. Bringing back to mind what it is you would like to say yes to today. And being curious about how that affects what you need to say no to. We'll release the arms. I'm going to shift so I can face you. Take your blocks on their highest height at the top of your mat. Let's find ourselves in mountain pose. Feet a good distance apart, hip distance, shoulders broad. Again, really pressing the feet into the earth. I want to feel nice, steady, grounded. We'll inhale the arms up, reaching to the sky. Exhaling arms down. Just a few times here, inhaling up, really staying grounded in the core of the body while the arms are moving. Next time you inhale up, we're going to fold forward, bend the knees, folding forward. Find the blocks for your hands. You may or may not need them, so adjust accordingly. Letting the head hang down, feeling nice and steady in the feet, pressing into the earth, noticing all the sensations. Bringing the hands to the blocks, coming up halfway. Step your right foot forward in between the blocks and take the left foot back. You can stay on the ball of your left foot if that is possible. Otherwise, if not, go ahead and let that foot come to the ground. So we're in a high lunge this time with the support of the blocks. So I want you to engage your abdominals here. And then take your right arm out in front of you with the thumb facing up toward the sky. Breathe. Feel your abdominals working. This core, right, our physical core, also reminds me of the core of ourselves, having that be strong so that we can say no to others, to say yes to ourselves from that strength of that perhaps capital S self, the lighthouse self, whatever we like to call that. Release the right hand down. Engage your abdominals again. The left arm comes out. This side's a little more tricky. Really have to concentrate here. Keep the gaze steady and on the floor. Reminding us that sometimes there's some trepidation and navigating we need to do to say yes to ourselves. Releasing that hand down. Stepping forward with the back foot in however many steps you would like to take. One more time, folding forward, pressing in to the earth. Slow and steady with the breath. Hands to the blocks, left foot in between the blocks or right foot back behind you. Find the place that feels good to you. When the left knee bends, it does not go past the ankle. We take some long, slow breaths here, gazing toward the earth. Be really steady in the legs, pressing them into the earth, engaging the abdominals. Left arm comes out, thumb to the sky. Finding your breath, feeling the core, strengthening our center. And we can rise from that strength when we need to set boundaries for ourselves. Releasing the left hand down. The right one's going to be a little tricky. So really first press everything into the earth that is touching the earth. Press your left hand into the left block. Then take that right arm out, thumb up. Breathe. Slow and steady. And release that hand down. Stepping forward in any amount of steps. Release down to the ground. Front of head coming down. Slow and steady breathing. Press the feet into the earth. Pull the belly in, rising up. And we'll inhale and exhale the arms several times. I just want you to notice how your body feels after doing some work on the abdominals. Palms together next time they're up. Hands to heart center and pause here. As once more we bring to mind what it is in our lives that we would like to say yes to, with the consideration that there will then be something to say no to. And then we'll release the arms. We're going to take a wide stance now. Toes turned out a little bit to the corners of the mat, just in whatever way is comfortable for you here. And then we're going to calm down into just a little squat, like so. But you also want to come up. So not like this, but like this, because we're going to do our yes to no breathing. So bring the hands to the side, palms open. And it's no, the palm is open and going out. No, yes, into the fist. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. I like to do inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Again, not to be breathless here. Move at your own pace. Does not need to be super quick. One, two, three. Pause, release. This is where we'll come forward a little bit. Take a few longer, slower breaths here. You can even kind of move the hips side to side. So we consider that saying no to say yes. We're pushing away what we don't need and pulling in what we do. Let's do that one more time. So coming up, but still the legs are bent, really active, pressing into the ground, hands in, fist to the side. And once more, pushing away, bringing in. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. At your pace. A few more times here. And pause at center when you're ready. This time we'll let the legs become straight. Turn the toes forward. Take a few long, slow breaths here to re-regulate the breath. Start to notice what kind of energy you feel within. And if that energy can be harnessed to strengthen and support the capital S self, or that Y self, right? That self that gets you to your yoga mat. Hands to hips, blocks in front of you if they are not. We're going to hinge forward into a wide-legged forward fold. So find those blocks first and bring them so they are a little bit ahead of your shoulders in a place that feels comfortable. Often when I get down here, I find that there is more availability to take my legs a little bit wider. So see if that's the case for you. Hips are pressing back. You are strongly pressing into the pinky sides of your feet. Engage your abdominals. And then as we end up taking several breath cycles here, you might find that you start to have a little more space. And that means that the blocks might be able to turn down. You might find that you could bring your hands down, but you're still pressing strongly into the feet. Hips are moving away. And sometimes I like to walk my hands back a little bit towards my back of the mat. Let my head hang down. Several long, slow breaths. And just notice the strength that is in your legs right now. Finding the blocks, again, if you don't have them, placing the hands. And then up to the higher height. Pausing here again. This is where we started. Several long, slow breaths. Really engage your feet and your legs and your core. Coming up. And then start to heel toe together, walk together. And I like to kind of roll side to side on my feet here. Roll my hips out. Roll out my feet. Beautiful. Okay, wide stance. Left toes out, pointing toward the short side of your mat. Take a peek at your back foot and just let the heel go a little bit closer to the mat than the toes. Hands to the hips. We're going to bend and straighten this front leg a few times so we can find a place that feels good. I want you to be able to still see your toes. And we try to keep the knee over the ankle. Okay, so when you get to a spot that feels good, pressing through the heel, pressing down through the front heel, hands to the hips. The hips can stay here and slide the hands up to your rib cage and turn the rib cage toward the long side of your mat. And this, we're going to inhale, arms up, exhale down. Several times like this. Really pressing into the legs. You have this really steady foundation, but you're able to move the arms. And kind of, you can think of this as like navigating a little bit the fluctuations of life and being able to do that from a steady place. Next time the arms come up, we'll just bring them down about halfway, palms facing down, gaze turns forward over your left fingers and breathe. Warrior two. A place where you can care for yourself, set boundaries, and know that that is okay. Release the hands down and switch sides. So this time, right toes are forward, peek back at the left. And then again, just some bending and straightening until you find your spot. When you do, really pressing down. And we'll do this again, inhaling up, exhaling down from our stability. Right, so I can think of this as our core self, wise self, lighthouse self, that still has flexibility, but also can set boundaries. Next time the hands come down, palms facing down, turn the gaze over the right fingers. Breathe, shoulders away from the ears. Release the hands down, toes forward, and then bring them in. And we'll roll these out a little bit, shake them out. Perfect. Okay, let's do one more standing pose. We're going to do tree pose. So for tree pose, you don't have to come all the way up. You might see often in depictions of people in yoga that they have their heel up into their inner thigh. That's great, but not necessary. So we'll start with your left leg. And first, we're just going to bring the heel in, and you're going to work on your foundation here. So we're pressing strongly the left leg into the floor, but also kind of the glutes come on board and the belly comes on board. Now we can try opening up your right knee as much as possible. So for tree pose, we want to be looking on the floor a few feet in front of us. Take the hands to the hips. Sometimes that helps. And then slide the right foot up to the calf if you're going there. And of course, you can add the arms in going up. Breathe. Slow and steady. And to come out, you bring the knee forward, foot down, release the hands. Okay, we'll try the second side, pressing really strongly into the right leg. Bring the left heel in, pull everything towards center. So you're really lifting the hips and the glutes are pulling in. Left leg comes out, hands to the hips. And then you can see if there's room to bring that leg up. And then perhaps the hands. Breathe. Concentrate. Feel your breath. Sense your core stability. And then palms to heart center as you come down. Very nice, you guys. Okay, we are going to come down and do a few things before Shavasana. So have everything nearby. Keep the sides of your mat free. We're going to take the leg side to side. You want to have your blanket for underneath your head. And whatever you like for Shavasana, I always like to have something under my knees. But we'll come down and come to our backs. When you place the blanket underneath the head, it's important that the neck is supported. So you really want the top of the blanket to touch the shoulders. And you can let your arms fall out where they like. And the blanket is only touching the tops of your shoulders. Your shoulder blades are on the ground. Once you get to the ground, take some long, slow breaths here. Really just feel what it feels like to be supported by the earth at this moment. Let yourself get settled. Often when I am sensing I might need a yoga practice, but I find there's some resistance there, I will just lay on the floor like this with my knees bent and try to sense into every area of my body that has support underneath it, and take some long, slow breaths. Generally, just doing this helps to settle my mind, and then inevitably other movement comes in, and before you know it, I've had some type of yoga practice. We're going to pull both knees in toward the chest. I like to place my hands behind my knees, and then I do take my legs out a little bit to kind of pull my belly toward the center. And we're just going to rock a little back and forth in a rhythm that feels good to you. If you tend to notice that you usually like to go fast or slow, see what it feels like to either slow down or even speed up a little bit. It should feel soothing. So find what that rhythm is for you. Give yourself time to notice that. And then come to center. Legs are still pulled into the chest. We're going to take the arms out into a T shape, palms facing up, and then let your knees go over to the left. If your knees don't come to the ground, you can put your bolster there or a blanket. And if your left leg is coming to the ground, but your right does not want to do that, you can place a bolster in between the legs. And see how that feels. If you'd like, you can take your gaze over to the right, keeping the eyes closed. Just let your body rest into this position, rest into the earth. Letting yourself start to rest into the practice that we had this morning. Really strengthening the core, the physical core, but also the capital S self, the wise self, the lighthouse self. Knowing that our strength lies there as well. The next inhale, we press the knees together, come to center, and then second side. Taking that gaze over the fingers of the left, if that's comfortable. Breathing. Really letting yourself start to trust the earth beneath you to hold you as you need. Pressing the legs together, coming back to center. Extend the legs for the sky. Roll out the feet. First in one direction, then the next. Also, we can point and flex. And even take the legs a little bit side to side. Whatever feels good here. And when you feel as if you've had enough movement, we'll make our way to Shavasana. Just gonna grab my little bolster there. I like to have mine up under my thighs. It's just the right size for me that it supports the pits of my knees as well. So experiment with the placement of things too. Sometimes even just a centimeter can make a big difference. So don't be afraid to adjust your body. In Shavasana, we want to be really as comfortable as possible. You also want to be at a good temperature. So grab a blanket if you need one, eye pillow, whatever it is you need. And let's get settled in by taking a few of those longer, softer, deeper, intentional breaths that we started our practice with. Coming back just once more to this idea that as we say yes to ourselves, we will need to say no to someone else or something else so as to not abandon ourselves. Check in with your chin and make sure that it's not really reaching up to the sky. It's down a little bit. And then bring your awareness to the back of the head. Making sure that on the next couple of exhales, the head can release fully into the supports of the blanket. Bring your awareness to the forehead, down to the eyebrows and that little space between the eyes, the eyebrows. Imagining that being really soft, free of tension. Same with around the eyes. All those little muscles that you use to smile. The eyes crinkle up, that can all relax. The upper and lower jaw release from each other. If you can notice a little bit of a rise and fall in the chest as you breathe. And over the next couple of exhalations, you can just imagine the collarbones are able to move a little deeper into the body, signaling the shoulder blades and the back to release into the earth. So much so that you start to notice a soothing heaviness. And let that just move nice and slowly down the arms. Like a gentle wave of soft heaviness moving down the arms, through the palms of the hands, all the way through the fingertips. Continuing focusing on that soothing, heavy feeling. Let that move through the heart center, down through the belly and the low back. And focus on that soothing heaviness in the pelvis and the hips and the glutes for right now. For the next couple of breath cycles. Every time you exhale, the hips and the glutes and the low back release a little bit more. Come a little bit heavier. That soothing heaviness can move right down the legs, nice and slow. Through the heels, the soles of the feet, all the way through the tips of the toes. Letting your body stay soft and heavy, resting fully in the knowledge that you have said yes to yourself today with your yoga practice. Letting that wash over you. Two more long cycles of breath here. And then some gentle movement to fingers and toes. Wrists and ankles. Bringing one leg And then the other, you can place your feet on your bolster if you're using one. And just let the knees go side to side very slowly, and just a little amount side to side. And rolling to your right side. And pause here. Take 2 long, slow breaths here. And after that, second exhalation, keeping your eyes closed if you can, using the arms to come up into whatever is a comfortable seat for you. And we can bring the palms to heart center. And pausing again here with awareness and a recognition, and perhaps gratitude to yourself for saying yes to you. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.